Sorry, this is being recorded just for our live stream on YouTube. I hope that's okay with everyone. So thank you again for joining us. My name is Emmanuel Gomez, and I am the VP of Sustainability for ASPCC. And today, our committee, Sustainability Committee, is presenting this event with our special guest, Dr. Monica Coto, a psychology professor. And for now, I believe we're going to start with our introductions.
With our land acknowledgement.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so I would like to ask you all that we can please take a moment of silence with our AS board. We like to present a land acknowledgement, you know, making sure that we provide awareness to our campus community and surrounding communities that we are on Indigenous land and that we do acknowledge and respect those who came before us. So we can please take a moment of silence, please. Thank you all. This map is a California tribal map prior to colonization. And just to make it aware, our SGV area, LA County area, is formerly known as Tongva land. And most of Pasadena is of the Hahamunga tribe. And with that, we can proceed. Thank you. Okay, so if anyone from the committee would like to go ahead and introduce themselves first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia. We thank you all so much for coming here, and I am the Vice Chair of the Sustainability Committee.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alexandra. Thank you, everyone, for coming here. I am the Secretary of the Sustainability Committee.
My name is Anna, and start today. I'm a committee member.
Thank you, Anna.
Hi everyone, my name is Sean. I'm a committee member of the Sustainability Committee, and I'm so glad you guys are here today.
Thank you all. And I don't believe our other committee member was able to make it, but we are missing someone. Her name is Alice Chewan Beck, and hopefully you can meet her in future events. And for myself, once again, my name is Emmanuel Gomez. I am the VP of Sustainability, and I chair this committee. I really appreciate you all taking the time to join us, and look forward to providing some, learning outcomes for you all. Thank you.
Okay, so now I would like to introduce Dr. Monica Coto, who is a psychology professor here at Pasadena City College. Dr. Coto started her educational journey as a community college student just like us at Cerritos College. She then transferred to Cal State Fullerton, where she graduated with a master's in psychology. And then she enrolled in a doctorate program at UCLA, where she did dissertation on sleep deprivation, and she earned her PhD in cognitive neuroscience. She's also worked as an EMT and WFA, which is a wilderness first aid worker. And last but not least, she's a hiking enthusiast and frequently visits the Hahamunga watershed and the surrounding Pasadena area. Oh, and don't forget to pay attention, because we are going to have some giveaways for those who answer some questions based off of Dr. Monica Coto's presentation. So I will stop sharing my screen, and Monica Coto can take it away.
Thank you for the introduction. It's so nice. So today, let's see. As you guys know, I'm the type of psychologist that is very techie and biological. So I am going to talk about, there we go. Let me situate everything here. The psychoneuroimmunology of being in nature. So we're going to talk about why it is good for your brain and your body to go outside. And so when I started looking for this, I found all kinds of research that shows that being in nature is good for your psychological health, as you guys can imagine. Like, it's no surprise. Like, most of you are going to be like, yeah, duh, right? But I saw all kinds of studies, like hikers, mountain bikers, kayakers, you name it. Being outdoors was good for you. And it showed very similar results to the ones I'm going to talk about here. But I decided to talk about forest bathers because forest bathers aren't doing anything but going in nature. Right? They're not doing any physical activity or anything like that. They're just kind of walking around in nature. And they showed very similar benefits to a lot of like the more active outdoor sports. So they showed lower cortisol levels, which is stress hormones. They showed lower depression scores. They showed increased mood. They showed better attention. And they showed a boost in their immune system functioning, including the ability to fight infections and cancer. So this is pretty amazing. So do you have to go in, the forest and bathe every day for hours at a time? It turns out you can do this in urban parks too. So people who regularly went to urban parks also described higher scores in their well-being, their life satisfaction, and they reported less psychological distress and anxiety. So does that mean you have to go out every day for hours? No, it turns out you could do a short-term visit at an urban park and get similar short-term psychological benefits. So just going out for a couple hours, less than a couple hours, sorry. These people showed enhancement in well-being, reduction in emotional stress, and relief in mental fatigue. So, and you can see that this is based on a couple studies down here. I tried to put the studies in where I could whenever I had room. So why? I started asking why, because you guys know that I'm biological in nature. And so the first thing I looked at is the effect of sunlight. And it does turn out that sunlight is really good for you. It's really good for the development of your central and peripheral nervous system. So for example, it has been shown that if you do not expose yourself to full spectrum sunlight, you have an increased chance for developing farsightedness. And this is not just kind of some touchy-feely thing where you're like you're sitting in front of your screen and you're straining your eyes. No, it turns out that as your visual system develops, the full spectrum UV increases the release of glutamate in your retina, and it really strengthens the connections that go from your eyes to your brain. And it actually, those connections can physically change the shape of your eye, such that particularly if your visual system is developing, so this is important for little kids, it could literally change the shape of your eye so that it goes more toward normal rather than myopic, right? But let's say you don't have any kids and you don't care. Okay, fine. Then it also, being exposed to that sunlight, increases the production of vitamin D. So vitamin D is a hormone that you make in response to sunlight. And vitamin D turns out to be really important for your immune system. So we know this because recently in the news, it's been shown that people who have normal to high levels of vitamin D have less COVID-19 symptoms. Probably some of you have heard that, right? But if we're talking about your brain, it turns out that vitamin D is actually protective to your brain. So it turns out when your brain is developing, it will engage in what's called apoptosis. Apoptosis is cell death. So as a normal part of development, some of your brain cells die. It turns out that less of those brain cells will die if you have good levels of vitamin D. So we can literally get groups of rats and we can expose some to sunlight, some not to sunlight, and the ones that aren't exposed to sunlight have thinner gray matter. They literally have less processing power than the ones that have been exposed to sunlight. So it's super important. And how does this come up with humans? It turns out if you're not getting enough vitamin D through your life, you have a higher risk of neurodegenerative diseases. These are diseases associated with cell death, things like Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and MS. So get out there, get some sun. It's good for you. It's good for your brain. Another thing is, it turns out that sunlight is the way that your brain knows that it's daytime. And so there are literally tracks in your brain that go directly from your eye to the part of the brain that is your biological clock, and it resets it every day. And so if you want to wake up at the same time every day, and you want to go to sleep at the same time every day, you have to expose your brain to sunlight. It's the best way to reset that biological clock. If you don't do that, and this has happened to a lot of people during quarantine because they've been staying indoors, what will happen is you'll want to go to sleep later and later every day. So last night you went to sleep at midnight. The next night you'll want to go to sleep at 1. The next night you'll go to sleep at 2, right? And it gets worse and worse. And we know that if your sleep is disrupted, your mood is disrupted, your memory is disrupted, your hormones are disrupted, your appetite is disrupted. So please go out there in the sun and reset your biological clock every day, right? So these are all indirect ways that the sunlight can affect your mood and your thinking. But more recently, there have been studies that show there is actually a direct link. So this is a really cool study, and it's like in the past 3 years. In this study, what they did is they exposed rats to UV light, full spectrum UV light. And they found that when rats were exposed to moderate levels of UV light, these little rats started creating a chemical called urocanic acid. Urocanic acid got in their blood, started going around the body, and urocanic acid actually passed through the blood-brain barrier, which means it got to the brain. And when it got to the brain, it would get converted to glutamate, particularly in areas like the hippocampus and the motor cortex. Now, what does this mean? Glutamate is the major excitatory neurotransmitter of the brain. It makes cells fire. So when you have glutamate, you get activity. And so as a result of this UV exposure, these rats actually showed increased activity in motor areas and in the hippocampus, and that caused them to have these behavioral outputs. They had better motor learning, and they had better long-term memory. So this is a direct link between learning and cognition and sunlight. Now, I also put mood here. Why? Because if we look at individuals who are depressed, they actually have decreased activation in the hippocampus. So while they didn't show that the rats were depressed, I'm willing to bet that this might actually impact mood, and we might see that down the line when we look at individuals who have mild to moderate depression. But of course, this was only done in rats, and this is a new study, so throw that away, right? This is just Monica speculating. But I'm willing to bet that's going to be a thing. Okay, so sunlight, good for you. The other thing I looked at was, what about the air you breathe? What about that fresh air when you go out in nature? And it turns out when we look at the air in nature, it's filled with these things called cytosides. And these are chemicals that plants create, and they're antimicrobial, and they're meant to protect the plants from little insects that are going to eat them, or from fungus, or from decay. So they release these as defense. So if you are in a place where there are a lot of plants, you are breathing in these phytonosides. And when you breathe them in, it turns out all kinds of good stuff happens. And I want to show you really quick. I'm just going to let you see my background here. I got this list from all these studies here. So this is not one study that showed this. This was a ton of studies that showed this. And what did it show? People showed reduced blood pressure and heart rate. They had decreased cortisol levels, which is stress hormones. They had increased parasympathetic activity. What is that? That is the part of your nervous system that calms you down. So this is going to make you feel more mellow. It's going to make you feel less depressed. It's going to kind of make you feel like, yeah, I'm feeling good, right? It also increased creativity and concentration. It increased sleep quality in several of the studies, which I was surprised about. It increased empathy in 2 of the studies. And in one of the studies, it actually increased conflict resolution, which is so cool, right? More mellow, I guess. You're like, yeah, you're fine. So there are a lot of really cool stuff here, right? And I was like, okay, I should zero in on one of them just to kind of make this. I'm trying to, sorry, here we go. There we go. Sorry. So I wanted to focus in on one of them just to kind of like give you a deep dive into one of these. And the one I focused on because I was so surprised by it was the effect that phytonicides had on the immune system, because it was measurable, it was objective, and it was dramatic. So when we look at people who are exposed to these phytonicides, they showed increased natural killer cell activity. Now, natural killer cells are these cells in the immune system that they are killers. This is what they do. Here's a natural killer cell. Here's a foreign invader. This is like a bacteria or a virus or something like that. And what these natural killer cells will do is they'll lock onto the target. They'll open up their cell membrane and they'll inject them with cytotoxin, which is basically poison, and it kills them. That's why they're called natural killer cells. And these are just one of the many little critters in your immune system, okay? So when animals were exposed to these phytonicides, they showed increased natural killer cell activity that was in a dose-dependent manner. What did that mean? More phytonicides meant more natural killer cell activity. Less meant less, right? So it was dose-dependent. But also, they showed that all the little chemicals that these natural killer cells used to fight the foreign invaders were actually also increased. So perfornin and granulysin are both chemicals that the natural killer cells will use to puncture and make that little hole into the target, into the foreign invader's cell body. And then granzymes are actually part of the chemical makeup of the poison that gets injected. So they made more of all of this. So the implication is, number one, not only do you get more of these natural killer cells, but those natural killer cells are like badasses because they have more of all these chemicals that help them fight these foreign invaders. Is really cool, right? And they didn't just show this in one study, they showed this in multiple studies. So I actually don't have a reference here because this was actually replicated in like 5 different studies. Some were on animals and I think 2 were on people. And so, you know, does that mean you have to go into the woods? Check this out. No, it turns out actually they did this study. Now this is a small pilot study. So, you know, grain of salt here. They used 12 people, but you'll see why. They had to put them up in a hotel for 3 days, you know, expensive. So it was a small study. They were all male subjects, 12 of them. They were 37 to 60 years old, and they spent 3 nights in a hotel. Okay. And what they did with these subjects is they checked their blood and their urine 3 days before their stay and 3 days while they were in the hotel. And unbeknownst to these subjects, during the night while they were in this hotel, they piped in phytonicides into the hotel rooms just to see what's going to happen to their natural killer cell activity. And sure enough, just like I talked about in the previous studies, they had increased the natural killer cells and all the accompanying chemicals. So it's super cool, right? And so this was actually, the way they did this is they used natural wood oils. So like essential oils, which was like a place that I didn't expect to go down. Like I never in my life have used essential oils. So I'm not an essential oil girl, but this actually did work. And I just want, in case you are interested, these were the essential oils I read about, only these two. But this one was the one that got used the most, cypress leaf oil, in these studies. And there were multiple studies that were successfully using these oils to trigger this immune effect, which is crazy, Okay, so I am close to time. So conclusion, go outside. It's good for you. The end. I'll stop sharing now.
Thank you so much, Professor Coto. I will share my screen again. Hold on.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was great. Kind of scary about the testing though in the hotel room. I'm sure they signed a liability on that.
Thank you. So informative. Now I have to go outside.
All right, so now we are going to have the Q&A portion of the event. So if you guys want to ask Professor Coto a question, you can pop it in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself. I know we had one already. Emmanuel, can you read it? I don't know where it went.
Yes. So Erica Rose asked, do we still breathe them in with our masks?
Probably not. They're probably microns bigger than some of these viruses that the mask protect us from. So probably not. But I've been hiking. I don't know if you've been hiking during COVID. You get little spots where you can be by yourself a lot of times. And so you could like sneak off the mask. And plus COVID won't last forever, so be out there, and plus you have maybe a backyard or something like that where you can go and just be near some plants.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Let me see, how about indoor plants?
Actually, indoor plants do have conferred benefits. I have not seen the benefits with cytonicides. The cytonicide stuff comes mostly from wood plants, so like trees, big trees. The other plants that I saw related to it was garlic plants. And you don't know how deep I went into this literature, people. Garlic plants and some like Japanese vegetable plant that I'm forgetting right now. But I will say this about the indoor plants, that I didn't have time because it was such a short presentation. Indoor plants have actually been shown to ionize the air in some really good ways, so that it kind of acts like a filter in a sense, like how you would have a room ionizer. Indoor plants have been shown to do that naturally for indoor. So it's worth having some indoor plants, definitely. Would more plants be better? I don't, in terms of the ionization, yes. And then the other thing that I didn't get to present was that any kind of nature scenes actually tend to decrease anxiety. So there was a slide that I took out that showed that just seeing pictures of nature actually decreased anxiety of hospital patients, compared to, they had controls of like abstract pictures with similar color schemes. So it still had the blue and the greens that you might see in a nature scene. But the nature scenes actually were better at decreasing anxiety.
Makes sense. So we have another question. Are there any known additional benefits of forest bathing that happen at night that may not happen?
Oh, I don't know that's such a good study, because it would make sense that there's certain plants that might be at risk more at night than in the day. So
Right.
so yeah, that's good thinking, but I don't know. I didn't read a study that said that, so I'm not going to speculate, but maybe. It's a great question.
I think just now, since you mentioned like the study on hospitals, I think for anyone who's watching this presentation, I definitely would recommend the Sustainable Technologies course, DT110, where they cover biophilic design. And I had heard about that. I just had never really read any studies on that necessarily.
Yeah.
Definitely, you mentioned also the colors that they used for the rooms.
Yeah.
So yeah, just for anyone out there, DT110. I love that course, by the way. I thought it was great. And then regarding the essential oils, so do you think it's the properties of the wood of a tree or their leaves which lead to the benefits? It seems like it may be both the wood and the green leaves.
I think these phytocyans get released anytime the plant is in danger. So I would imagine it could be released by both, but of course I'm not an expert on it, right? So a really common example of some of these phytocyans that you might actually have experienced directly, you can't smell all of them, but if you've ever been in front of like a lawn that's just been mowed, it has that fresh mowed smell. That is actually a chemical being released by the grass saying, help us. So that would be an example of one of these. Now, I don't know if that particular one increases the immune functioning. Like I said, it seems to be that most of these studies were done on like the wood essential oils. So I'm not sure exactly where it's being released on those plants, but that's what they've successfully shown creates the effect.
Right. Yeah, that's I think that's a tricky one because I mean I like the smell of the grass, but my sinuses don't.
Oh yeah.
So it might not be the best for some. Any more questions? Anyone, if they'd like to unmute themselves, feel free to do so as well.
Would you suggest the use of nature to improve mental health on a daily basis? So I'm so biased here because this is kind of my way of improving mental health. Like some of you may know, I'm big on backpacking. And so I really enjoy getting out and hiking and stuff like that. And you know, but that's for me, that's kind of something that I just enjoy. But I'll show you kind of what I'm looking at here. Like this is where I've decided, I didn't have an office at home when quarantine started, but this is where I decided to set up my office. I sit by a big window, you know, and I wear sunscreen because some of that UV, too much, kind of going with that question that I'm seeing there, is there such a thing as overexposure? You do definitely have to be aware that UV light can be harmful to your skin and increase risk of, you know, certain skin cancers and stuff like that. That being said, it is important to get some. And it does seem to be critical, the timing of it, like I said. So in particular, I purposely will sit here in the morning for at least 15 minutes and have my breakfast before I go and put some sunscreen on. And I do put some sunscreen on because the sun is hitting me all day. But I love that. I love that. So yes, there is such a thing as overexposure to some of these things. What time is suggested in direct sun? I would say 10 to 15 minutes is enough to reset your biological clock in the morning. But that it's very critical that you get it in the morning, because you want your body to say, we now have sunlight, it is now morning. So don't do this. Don't like cover your windows with like some heavy drapes, and then expose yourself to sunlight at noon, unless you always want to wake up at noon. Like you might be a shift worker and maybe noon is the time you want to wake up, then do that. But whenever is the time you want to wake up, that's when you want to expose yourself to that sun. You want to expose yourself to that sun in your morning, in the beginning of your day. Does the time difference for children? I would be a little bit more concerned with children. I would shorten that up a little bit, but I would still get them that sun exposure in the morning.
We have Elizabeth raising her hand. Feel free to mute yourself.
Oh yeah.
Hi, just a question. I think you answered part of it. But for me, when you were talking about, when COVID happened and people stopped going outside, it started messing with their sleeping patterns.
Yeah.
I've been good so far, but I just recently started having issues again. And it didn't really occur to me that could be it. For the last, I'm gonna say about the last 3-4 months, I really haven't gone outside. I work from home. And I'm just really focused on my schoolwork. So then I know you mentioned a little bit about doing like 15, going outside maybe for 15 minutes to kind of reset my internal clock. Is that what I can do to start, getting back on my
that is the easiest way to do it. Now some people will say go to sleep early, but you know what's going to happen if you go to sleep early? You're going to lay there and not sleep.
I go to sleep later when I try to do that.
Yeah. So
it doesn't work.
I know it's the worst way to try to reset your clock. The best way to try to reset your clock is wake up when you want to, not go to sleep when you want to. It's wake up when you want to, and then when you and it'll suck the first morning, and maybe even the first couple. But what will happen is, as long as you're waking up at the time, exposing yourself to the sunlight, it's going to get easier and easier. The other thing I would say in terms of light is there's a flip side to it. So there's 2 times when your body, when your brain is super sensitive to light exposure. It's in the morning, and that's going to tell the brain that, hey, it's morning time, and it's at night before you go to sleep. So the other thing that could be messing with your schedule is if you're sitting in front of like your screen and you don't have like the night setting on, what happens is the blue light from your screen tells your brain it's still daytime. You still have to stay awake. The sun is still out, and you don't want that either. So another part of that, another piece of the puzzle might be decreasing your exposure to light more at the end of the day.
Okay, yeah, I think I'm like more of a night owl, so I do a lot of my work at night. So yes, I guess
use the night. There's a lot of computers, phones, they have that night light setting. Use that night light setting.
Okay, I will
put it on automatic. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And do it like maybe an hour or 2 before you want to sleep. So if you want to sleep at 10, make it go on at like 8.
Okay.
Thank you for that question, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
We have another question.
Yes.
So is it ethical to market essential oils, especially since they're released through stress? They've heard that some trees are in danger of extinction due to these oils.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know much about the essential, like I said, I've never been into essential oils in my life. I just know that they work in this particular case, and I'm not you know, I don't know what other, like, I don't know what lemongrass does. I'm not, you know, it's not my thing, honestly. So if you look into the ethics of it and it's not good, don't do it, right? I'm not advocating anything. I'm just saying that the effect is strong enough that you don't even need to be in the woods. You just need to be exposed to those phytosigns. And that's important to say, because if you're scientifically thinking about it, you might say, well, how do I know that increase in immune functioning isn't just because you're happy out there? No, they had guys in a hotel room, right? Just exposed to these phytosigns. So it's a control thing too. So I'm not advocating to buy these things, because I don't know, again, I don't know anything about them. I'm just saying that they do actually work, and it does seem to be the phytosigns. It's crazy.
Thank you. We have another question, I guess a follow-up question on some of the information you presented,
Yeah.
or some of the suggestions. So
Oh,
if we wear sunscreen as soon as we wake up, it's not necessarily good.
well, so I used to do this. I used to put sunscreen on in the morning right before I left out the door. And the sunscreen doesn't really get absorbed by the skin for 15 minutes. So it kind of works. You just put it on and then go outside. It's not working for 15 minutes, but like you kind of don't want it to. But another thing too is you probably aren't putting the sunscreen on everywhere, probably. So you're probably maybe not putting it on your arms or on your neck, or there's going to be parts that are missing. So that's also something to think about, that, you know, there's other places on your skin. As long as you have exposed skin, that skin will start to make some vitamin D for you.
Great, thank you. And it seems like we have another one. So I'm going to quote, I tend to have to study in the night hours because my children need much support in the AM for school. How long before I want to sleep? Should I log off? Would it help to go outside before bedtime for a certain amount of time?
Ah, I wouldn't log off. I would just use your night setting to kind of mitigate that a little bit. If you have a really old computer and it doesn't have the night setting, there are literally glasses you can wear that block the blue light, and you can buy them on Amazon. You just wear them instead, and you're controlling your light that way. So you don't have to change, you know, how much you're sitting in front of your screen. You just have to change the light that's hitting your eye. If you think about it that way, then that might be a more useful way to think about it.
Okay, thank you. And another question is, what if we just have a ton of houseplants? Obviously not the same as going outside, but will we still be exposed to the helpful cyanide?
I don't know. Like, I think I said this before. I only saw in the studies the ones related to the wood essential oils and garlic and that other Japanese vegetable that I'm you know, forgetting. So I don't know. I don't think it's okra. I don't think it's okra. I forget which one it is, honestly. But so I don't know if they would have helpful cytonicides. So I just know the ones that I reported on, and I showed you the little list there. It was the cypress oil and the other one that I can share if you want. I can type that into the chat later.
Thank you. And let's see.
No.
Anyone else has any more
Daikon.
questions, comments? Okay, well, I think we can move on. Thank you very much, Professor Coto, Dr. Coto. We really appreciate it.
Okay, so we are going to play a little Kahoot game. Like I said earlier, it is going to be based off of Dr. Coto's presentation. So let me just pull up that Kahoot game so I can give you guys the idea. For those of you who don't know how to play Kahoot, you just go to www.kahoot.it, And then you type in this game pin that's going to pop up on the screen in a sec. It's just loading.
And I just want to note that Professor Coto mentioned that the plant she was mentioning, the vegetable, it's cypress leaf oil. Or
Those are the cytonicides that were mentioned specifically.
awesome. Thank you. So we'll give it maybe about a minute for everyone to join this Kahoot.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's taking some time to load. I think I had too many tabs open. Oh, and then one thing to mention about the Kahoot game, I know it's like really fun to make your name all different and stuff like that. I like doing that too. But because there's prizes, we want to make sure that we know who you guys are. So at the end, we're going to share a Google form with you. And in the Google form, we're going to ask for your information. And one of the things is going to be like your name. So we can make sure that it correlates with the Kahoot game. So the winners are getting their prizes. I'm just going to, sorry guys, I'm like, it's not loading. Okay, can someone drop the Kahoot link in the chat, please?
Yes.
Someone else can do that. Oh, thank you so much, Bertha, I appreciate it. Hey, Emmanuel, can you try to do it? It's not working on my end.
Okay, so sorry about that, y'all.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Okay, so okay, so it's loading a pin. Going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so the pin is 6020150. So give it about another 30 seconds. Okay, so give you another 10. Seems like people keep joining.
You guys can still join after we start the game, by the way. So you're good.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start it.
Okay, so the first question is, what are phytocides? Red is compounds emitted by plants as a defense mechanism. Blue is particles found in the air. Yellow is particles that give off the smell that boost in the brain. And green is compounds that make it easier to breathe. Awesome. Okay, so 13 of you guys got it right. Good for you. You guys were paying attention. Yeah, good job, Anna. Anna's on our leaderboard. Okay, so excessive time indoors has been shown to increase the tendency for red, nearsightedness, blue, headaches, 3, fatigue, and green, farsightedness. Okay, good job, everyone. 8 of you got that. Wow, nice, Anna. Anna's like really just going at it. Exposure to phytocides can increase cortisol levels, which, if you remember, are stress levels. So true or false? $24 of you got it. Wow, that was easy. Good job, guys. Good job, 24 of you. Dang, Anna. Anna's really just moving up there. Sunlight exposure is not known to enhance which of the following? Not known. Red, eyesight. Yellow, learning. Blue, mood. And green, cognition. Awesome job, guys. Yay, Sophia Davis. She moved up. Johanna and Anna. It's totally Forest bathing lowers stress levels. True or false? Also, I really like that picture. I thought it was really nice, so I put that one in. I love dogs, so I had to choose that one.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, forest bathing lowers stress levels. Blue, true, and red, false. Yes, you guys are paying attention.
And our last question.
All right. Where is the Humungo watershed located? This is all the way back to the very beginning. Red, Los Angeles. Blue, Azusa. Yellow, La Crescenta. Or green, Pasadena. And if you look at the picture, if you guys know your geographical locations, that's a little hint for you. Yes, it was indeed Pasadena. So, dun, 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 dun. Third place, Emily. Good job, Emily. Second place, Garun. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. And first place goes to Johan.
Awesome.
Oh, Johan, sorry. I don't know if I mispronounced that. I'm so sorry. But good job, guys. Okay, so make sure you 3 definitely fill out the Google form that we put at the end of the event. And then just write down in the comment section that you 3 won. So can we stop sharing the screen, please?
Yeah, I've pressed it. It's not stopping.
You're good. Don't worry.
Are you able to press stop share on your end?
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and for the second part of this, after
Did he cut out for you guys too? Yeah, he cut out. Okay, that's totally fine. What is it called? I will just say it for him. So, for Sean, can you text him that he cut out, please? Thank you. So for the second part of the event, we are asking you guys if you can to go to Humunga Watershed. The address is right there for you guys. It's 455 Oak Grove Drive, Pasadena, California, 91103. And Emmanuel so graciously woke up early this morning before his classes, and he posted QR codes. They're red and they have the sustainability committee logo on the top of them. And he posted them around the site, and you can scan the QR code, and then it'll pop up a Google form on your phone. And then those who fill out the Google form will get a mystery giveaway. The Google form is just asking you questions like your name, your email, and things like that, just so we can, one, confirm that you did do the walk, and then two, that you, yes, Professor Coto?
Yeah, I just want to say to those students who are in my class, the Google form is in the chat, and this is the form I was talking about that you would have to fill out to get the extra credit, just in case, because some of them might not be used to like live Zoom.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
So the one in the chat is the Google form for attending this event. So it just looks like this. And then there will be a second Google form for the Humunga Watershed, with the QR code. So I don't know if that confuses people.
Yeah. The one in the chat is the one you wanna
this event.
For this event. So if you don't know how to do that, you go down somewhere on your menu in Zoom, there's a chat button, click on that, and you'll see the link for the Google form.
Yes, if you need the link again, we can put it in the chat again. But especially the 3 winners, please fill out the Google form so we can get you your prizes. And then, like I said, again, we have QR codes at the Humunga Watershed, and if you scan it, fill out the Google form, you're going to get a mystery giveaway. They will be up, the QR codes will be up until this Sunday. So until Sunday, they're going to be up, and then we're going to take them down.
I had a quick question regarding the form that you put in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
It says to give a mailing address, but when I did that, it says that it must be a valid email address. So did you want us to put our mailing address or our email address?
Oh, we meant mailing address, like mail, so we can send you the prizes.
It won't. I don't think the form will let us submit it unless it's an email address.
If you can just submit your email address, and then we'll contact you. Sorry about that. And also, I apologize. Zoom kicked me out. But this is just a bit of the QR code that you can find throughout the Humunga Watershed Park. So it is printed in red. At the moment, there's about 5 of them. I will be placing some more this afternoon. And again, those will be available until Sunday. And I think that concludes it for us. Thank you very much.
Just to be super clear, can you say
Yes.
Sunday, the date?
Oh, yes.
Just because people are going to be watching this on YouTube.
March 28th.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And then just really quick, Sean is just going to give a quick shout out to our socials. He's our social media manager guy.
Yeah. Hey guys, I hope you all enjoyed that wonderful presentation by Dr. Coto and the Kahoot game. I want to plug our social media really quickly, which we started just recently. But yeah, it really means a lot to us if you gave us a follow and kept up with our future events and all that exciting stuff. And we do have committee meetings that we live stream on YouTube. So if you're interested or passionate about sustainability, we would love for you guys to watch that. But yeah, tell your friends about us, and thank you all for coming, and we hope you enjoyed the event.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for the help in presenting this. Dr. Coto, And thank you to the AS Sustainability Committee. Appreciate your time, and we look forward to having y'all join some of our future events. Thank you.
There's a question in the chat. Leela, I believe it is. It will be posted on the, so we're live streaming it on YouTube. So the entire event is going to be posted on the ASPCC YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Which, if you have the flyer, the link will be on the flyer. If not, we can drop the flyer in the chat right now. So
Yeah, it's currently live streaming at the moment. I'm going to pause it since there was a bit of an issue with the live stream from the beginning. It started about 11 minutes in to one, but we will be removing that one and uploading the full video. So keep an eye on that. And that will be through the ASPCC YouTube account.